is literally, it's catching the mind of Christ. It's being in communion with him. Scripture gives us a perfect roadmap to the heart of God. And so if you are still fearful and you're struggling with that, we feed fear and faith the same way. And that is, we say it. So this is going to be really difficult for some of us, because the truth of the matter is, it means that you have to guard your words. You have to guard what you hear on the news. You have to guard what you say. And I'm not saying be ignorant. I'm not saying don't listen to the news. I want you to be aware of what's going on. We're going to be wise. But you know the difference between being wise and being educated, and then feeding fear, because the anxiety goes through the roof. You know when the anxiety goes through the roof, all of a sudden you're looking at your checking account, you're looking at your stock, your stock options, and you're looking at, oh my gosh, the S&P 500. Like, you're looking at all of these things. That is anxiety. Those are the fingerprints of anxiety. Right. And so in that moment, we have to start being aware of like what's going on and start speaking. And so that means I'm really careful right now with what I watch. Right now, I read the news. I do not watch the news, because watching it is very hard for me and I get anxious. And so I read it so I know what's going on, and I know what's going on so I can pray against it.
It's really good.
Right? And then I speak out the truth. I speak out faith. I do not have a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Yeah. And so I would say, even with your kids, like I would say with families, I've been thinking about families a lot, is because kids don't really understand what's going on. They just know they're home. This is an incredible opportunity, I feel like, to create a really neat culture with the Lord in your family. Yeah. And it actually could be a really special time together to start, a routine, a morning routine and an evening routine of praying, of reading scripture, of talking about who Jesus is.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. I think that we really are in this pivotal moment, honestly. And I wanted to touch on something, because I think there may be people who are out there saying, I don't actually get the choice with my type of job, with whatever I do for a career. I don't get to manage what I hear. But in Scripture, Jesus actually says, be careful then how you hear. And that you have full control over. Because sometimes you're stuck in a place, I know people who've worked in offices where actually they're required to watch the news all day long, and they have to do, so you may be even surrounded by coworkers, you may be surrounded by family who don't have these core values. You may be in a place where you're not the one that sets the culture exclusively. You may have someone else who's actually feeding fear the entire time, but you're choosing to feed faith. What it says in Scripture is, be careful then how you hear. You can choose, even internally, that division, that choice of like, okay, they're telling me all these stats, all these facts. Sometimes you can set boundaries if it's a person. Sometimes you don't really have the choice because it's a screen and they're talking at you. And those aren't the only places this comes from, right? Sometimes it's social media. Sometimes it's other things. But whatever it is, you can choose how you hear, and find community around you that can really help with that. We're really fortunate as a church body to have the small groups we do, to have the connections we do, to have the, some of us are community, some of us are family, some of us have that really intimate connection with other people. Whatever it is, find ways to get plugged in and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is where I need help, because I'm having trouble doing this. Don't do it alone. If anything, what we're here for is to go through these things together.
Absolutely.
I think it really is an amazing opportunity. I know it's a bit of a perspective shift. I think that, we talk a lot about the renewing of your mind. In Scripture, Ephesians 4:22-24 talks about laying off the old man, and by the renewal of your mind, putting on the new man. Renewal of your mind is massive. It's a huge theme in the New Testament. And I think that is really something that's going on right now, where we have to renew our mind. And that's why sometimes we'll have those things written on our mirror, because it's like, hey, this doesn't feel true.
Right.
It's okay if it doesn't feel true. It's not going to feel true. If you disagree with it, but it's what God says, I know one of you is right, I just happen to know which one is the one that's wrong. It's usually me. So I just fight to agree with him. I surrender to what he's saying. And I think that that's huge. One of the perspective shifts that we've talked about, which I'm actually really excited about. I think once your mind gets renewed enough, the impossible looks logical. You know, I think that's one of the milestones, not the only one, but I think
Right.
that's one of the most exciting ones for me.
Right.
You see someone walking by with a crutch and you get excited because you're like, Jesus is about to heal you. You know, like that's crazy to the logical mind, to what most people normally think. But the renewed mind makes the impossible look logical.
possible.
Yeah. And I'm kind of excited because we've talked about this, and I actually feel like this is the beginning of God doing something massive, actually. Not that he sent the virus, but now is the opportunity for us to partner with
go on the
God
offense.
and to go and actually do what he's doing. Because Jesus, even in the boat, questioned them and said, why are you waking me up? You could have calmed this storm.
Yeah.
Now that's uncomfortable. I don't know about for you, but I mean, the thought of knowing the facts, seeing the waves, understanding what's going on, and Jesus saying, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's fascinating, because we run to Jesus. Yes, he has all the solutions. At the same time, we actually have authority. He's actually given us authority over things.